is Up Close with Bill Ritter.
What a year it's been in New York City. As we tried to transition away from the COVID crisis, the city struggled with other things, many other things, like the economy and taking care of nearly 200,000 migrants bussed here over a 2-year period. There was a high-profile assassination on the United Health CEO in Midtown Manhattan. There was a woman who was homeless, sleeping in a subway car in Brooklyn when she was set on fire and killed. There was a huge scandal at the NYPD. The highest-ranking uniformed officer, chief of department, retired after allegations of sexual misconduct. A female lieutenant claims she got overtime in exchange for sex. Lots to talk about this morning with the 110th mayor of New York, Eric Adams, who has had quite a busy year for himself this year, and what promises to be another busy year as he runs for re-election while trying to fight federal criminal charges. And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the last Up Close of the year. I'm Bill Ritter, wishing you and your loved ones a healthy, happy New Year. Our guest this morning, the 110th mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. What a busy year indeed it's been for the city and for the mayor, politically and personally, and there's been no shortage of challenges for the city or for the mayor. For the third consecutive year, I sat down with the mayor and talked about the year behind and the year ahead. Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us on Up Close once again for our year-end look at what has gone on and what's going to go on in the next year. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Always good to be on with you.
And good to talk to you as well. I do want to talk to some news stories that are happening right now. There was a pretty terrible murder on the subways this last weekend, and I wanted to just talk to you about it, get your take on what's happening there. The woman who police believe was homeless was set afire while she slept on the subway. What is going on? I know you don't approve of that, but we got to do something about people who are homeless sleeping on the subways as well. What's your take on all this?
And Bill, and when you think about it, this is a intersectionality of the things that I have been talking about, and I really need assistance from my other partners in government. First, something is clearly wrong with a person that was set an innocent individual on fire, a woman, and sit there and watch her burn. Something is wrong with that. And then you look at the fact that this person was snuck into the country after being removed from the country, what my preliminary reports are giving me. I've been talking about this over and over again. And lastly, the subway system is not a place for people to sleep on. They should not be assaulted because they're on the subway system, but we have an obligation to do something about it. And that's what we've been doing with Scouts and PATH. But those advocates who are stating that people should have a right to sleep on the subway, sleep on the streets, they are just wrong. And that's what I've been fighting against.
The governor has set up another 250 National Guards members to patrol the subways. There are a lot of people who think we just need more cops. We're short cops by about 4,000, if my numbers are right, police officers and about 2,000 detectives. Is that a way to stop crime better than having the National Guard there?
Well, we have partnered with the governor since the beginning when we did our subway safety plan, and we saw a decrease in the violence on our subway system. And the subway system continued to get safer and safer every day. Even robberies are at the lowest level in history from the last numbers I looked at. Here's where we are. Omnipresence, the presence of a uniformed officer, it does the role of making people feel safe and fight crime at the same time. Bill, we have about 4.5 million riders a day. We have 6 felonies a day on average a day. And so it's these high-profile cases that strike out our psyche and make us feel unsafe, and that's what I'm fighting against every day.
Right, and the question is whether the numbers may be going down, but the perception is what gets people.
Right, because an incident like this, or an incident when someone shoves someone to the subway track, or a random act of violence, that plays on our psyche. And connected to those random acts and what is overshadowing our success are those who are dealing with severe mental health illnesses, and that is why we've been fighting in Albany to get the right to do involuntary removal. We need these bills passed so that we can get the support that we need to carry out the continued continuation of keeping our subway system safe.
Lots to talk about, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad you're here to do it. Let's talk about the latest news story, too, as well. Another one of them. Recently, Jeffrey Mondry, the Department of NYPD, it's Chief Investigative Chief of the entire department, the highest ranked uniformed officer, has retired after a scandal that I would say it's one of the biggest scandals, if not the biggest scandal, that has been here for the last 3 decades at least.
Yeah, troubling allegations, and Commissioner Tisch is conducting her internal review, and whatever external review is going to take its course as well. I have to keep moving the city forward, and that is what I'm focusing on doing. And I'm gonna allow those investigators to do their job to find out exactly what happened here.
Well, if you believe all the news things that stories that we've done on this story, a friend of yours, a guy who is people seem to like a lot and had a lot of respect for, got involved in some sort of a sex thing with his secretary. And what happens when that gets public? What happens when people find out about that? What happens when all that becomes disclosed? And what happens to the NYPD by all that?
Well, and I think that you said something that we know knowns and we know unknowns. And the knowns that I've known, that I'm aware of, is a person who served this city to protect this city. The unknowns, none of us know. And only after a proper review will the unknowns be discussed and determine what happened. Our job is to allow those who are doing the review to do it without any interference at all, and I'm not going to do anything to interfere with coming to the truth in this manner. But while this is happening, I still have to deal with the everyday issues: affordability, housing, public safety, educating children, and revitalizing our economy. And that's what I must focus on, and allow the reviewers and investigators to determine what happened and the unknowns, particularly those that I'm not aware of.
With all due respect, Mr. Mayor, people say you're still smiling, you have this optimistic viewpoint, and yet we know, that you've had a rough year. You were indicted. It's rough to say the least. You were indicted. You say you're not talking about it. If you'd like to begin to talk about it up close right now, go ahead. If not, how are you doing this? How do you keep your optimism, or seeming optimism? You're smiling, even when you may not want to smile. This has affected you, I'm sure. A lot of these people were your friends who are no longer in office.
Yeah, and so true. There in life, there are painful moments, and people often hear me reflect on, watching the painful moments that my mother went through. Everyone knows that I call myself a mama's boy, and she has some difficult times in life. Bill, I talk about many mornings, walking past her door at night, and hearing her crying, wondering we were going to be thrown out. But mommy got up every morning and she did her job. And I'm watching the mothers and fathers of this city that goes through hard times. Like, how does someone get up the next day after preparing to marry someone just to have them murdered in a car accident? How does a mother get up after losing 2 children to gun violence like Jackie Rowe Adams? You have to continue to get up, put one foot in front of the other, and there's going to be some very difficult days. And this was a difficult year for me on many levels. Yeah. And it was hard. But New Yorkers are resilient. Let me tell you what else was hard. It was hard watching 9/11 and those 2 buildings collapsed before our eyes, and thousands of New Yorkers were died. But you know what? On 9/12, we got up. We got up. And I have to continue to get up because New Yorkers are dependent on me. They voted for me, and I'm going to continue to deliver for this city no matter what I'm faced with. And so people were calling for me to step down. I stepped up. And we got City of Yes passed. We continue to bring down crime, reversing the devastation of our economy and protecting children. I'm going to continue to do that as long as I have to.
All right, let's just take a look at who you are. You're very loyal. There's no question about that. You hired a lot of people who are your close friends. If you had it to do over again, from the benefit of hindsight, would you do that again?
Well, okay, first of all, life is not what happens in the rear view mirror is in the front window. And let's be very clear, because I think it has been overstated. I believe all of us bring into our circles those we have been with. It's not so much close friends, it's those who I have observed for years, who have done great things in government. And that's what we all do. People hire those who were part of their law firm or went to their law school together. People hire people who were in the profession. I went through those who I knew who were committed. Sheena Wright was committed for years and did a great job. Phil Banks was a former deputy mayor, did a great job. And so when you look at the small number of people who were left, my commission is still intact, Bill. Not only that, my deputy mayors are still here. I only lost one deputy mayor decided to leave. And so the appearance that we've hemorrhaged talent is just not true. But I can't argue with the narrative that people have. I have to continue to build the case of how we turn around the city. And yes, I will continue, no matter what job I do, I'm going to look for those I've known throughout my journey who have been dedicated and committed to the work that I need done, and I will hire them. If they're friends or not friends, I will hire them and bring them on.
Let's talk about Luigi Maggioni. When he arrived here, back here again, in an airplane and then a helicopter with the New York Police Department escorting him after he was arrested in Pennsylvania, here to go to court and be tried in federal and state court. You were with him. You were with him. And when he arrived in court, his attorney said you were staging something. You were just doing a stage. That's all this was for television. How do you respond to that, and why were you there that day? You were right behind him.
Yes, and I was staging something. The attorney, if that's his analysis, yes. Being mayor is substantive and symbolic. The substantive issue is bringing down crime, making the city safe, educating our children. That's the substantive. But there's symbolism. Days before his return, I communicated with a large number of executives and CEOs from IBM, Deloitte, and other corporations. I wanted to send a strong message to those CEOs and the financial institutions in this city that intentional assassination struck at the core of the financial stability of this city and the fear. And so I needed to be there to say to them and other New Yorkers that we will not tolerate and accept violence of this nature. I don't care if it's a normal street mugging or if it's an intentional assassin. And so I think the attorney should focus his attention on the actions of his clients. So yes, that was a symbolic moment that I was saying to the people of New York is this person struck at the heart of our safety, and I wanted to be there when he came back to the city.
Okay, you know, people were on both sides of that. There were people who said, "Hey, look at that guy go," and there were other people like the lawyer who said that. So I appreciate your candid answer. Let me talk to you about timing. You said, "What's the timing about?" A lot of things are timing. Our timing when you're in a news business. Right now, we're timing something with you. You are busy timing. What did it mean when you asked the federal court, push away your beginning of your trial date to after, coincidentally or not, Donald Trump was inaugurated again for a second term? Are you tied to Donald Trump more than you were, let's say, 5 months ago or a year ago? And are you hoping that he somehow pardons you if you are found guilty?
Well, let's break that into two pieces.
Go ahead.
First, look at my conversation that I stated, Bill, pre-presidential election. Pre-presidential election, look at what I've been saying about going after violent migrants and asylum seekers that are creating violence on our streets. I was saying that before knowing who the next president was. Affordability, before the last election. Stop the radicalization of our children, pre-election. Everything I've said pre-election, I'm saying post-election. And for people to state that Eric is changing his conversation based on who's the president, that is just not true. I'm the same person fighting for working class people of this city and this country that I was doing pre-election, I'm doing post-election.
Are you hoping that he gives you some sort of pardon if you're found guilty?
Here's what I've said pre-election, and I'm gonna say post-election. I did nothing wrong. I should not have been charged. I believe I was targeted because of my stance to protect the city from the migrants and asylum seeker issue that we were facing. And I have a legal team that we're going to pursue every avenue to get the justice that I deserve. And that is the job of my legal team. But I'm the same person that you elected, the people of the city elected in 2022 to be the mayor. I stand for working class people of this city, that they should be able to move into the middle class and provide for their families.
Okay. You have behind you, if I can switch gears a little bit, you have behind you, it looks like a trash can.
Yes.
And you're an optics guy, so tell us what the trash can is doing behind you.
It is our symbol of our war on the filth and dirt that we saw in our city, containerizing our garbage. 70% of New Yorkers now have to put their garbage in containers. That is an amazing feat. No one thought it was possible. They thought it was going to take us 5 years to do so. We did it in a rapid fashion. Our rat czar and the former DSNY commissioner, what they did on our war on rats. Rats shake up New Yorkers all the time, and it's a symbol of urban decay. And so that trash can is, again, the symbol of how we not only clean up our streets from crime, but we're also cleaning our streets up from the trash revolution that we are experiencing.
And if it leads to fewer rodents, then I know that you're behind that and you're in favor of it. I appreciate that. Let's talk very briefly about the economy. Where does it stand right now? We talked when you were elected, when you were running for election. We talked about, you and I did, about what happens to get people back who have some money to push some money inside this economy. Are we doing that up to par? How do you get more people, middle income people, upper middle income people, not talking about billionaires? How do you get more of those people back in from where they once lived?
Well, number one, to get them back into the offices, you're seeing that take place. You're seeing more private sector jobs and more public jobs, more small businesses have opened. We have broken records on the largest number that have returned the employment pool. We decreased unemployment among African Americans by over 20%, and also Hispanic New Yorkers, I should say, by close to 30%. Our tourism, which feeds a great portion of our economy, we have the second largest tourism in the history of the city. Of close to 65 million tourists have visited this city. You are seeing the revitalization of the economy. What we did on Fifth Avenue announcement. Billions of dollars are put into Fifth Avenue employees when you revitalize Fifth Avenue like we're doing, and getting shoppers to come in and spend. And so we're finding a host of creative ways to really move everyday New Yorkers into the middle class, and we have been successful doing it over and over again, and we will continue to do so.
And a lot of people were pleasantly surprised when they got those numbers. They were surprised that the tourism was so high. I want to leave this last minute or so, a minute and a half, to talk about what you have looking forward. This was a tougher year than anyone might have imagined for you personally. You tried to not talk about this and do your job. What do you look forward to in terms of your vision for being mayor, and for you personally, because you have some personal struggles happening with the trial coming up in 2025?
I'm excited. Someone sent me a note the other day that I get two gifts every morning. The gifts of two of both my eyes opening. That's the gift of life, and I'm not going to squander that gift. And I'm going to continue to show New Yorkers resiliency in the face of challenges. It was challenging having to get over COVID. It was challenging spending $6.5 billion that should have gone to taxpayers during the migrant and the asylum seekers. It was challenging the fire that we lost a large number of our city residents in the Bronx when I first came into office. Challenging of what happened with Officer Mora and Rivera, watching those two young officers killed in the city. So there were a lot of challenges that I faced. But I am really hoping that New Yorkers look at me in the face of challenge. They can see that I've always maintained hope. And I'm optimistic about 2025 not only for my personal journeys, but for the journeys of everyday New Yorkers that I meet on the subway system, in the hospitals, on our street corners, in our stores. I'm optimistic about 2025. They wanted a mayor that was going to fight for them, and every day I fight for New Yorkers.
110th Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. Good luck, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate you coming on. A happy New Year, peaceful New Year, healthy New Year. And we'll see you as things unfold. And thanks for joining us.
Take care.
You too. And we think Mayor Adams figures to be quite a year for him and the city. Just ahead, we talk to our political team. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Up Close, the year ahead and the year that's almost over. Our political team joins us now. Rick Klein, ABC News Political Director and ABC News Washington Bureau Chief. He's got a lot of titles. And political consultant Hank Scheinkopf. Gentlemen, thank you and happy New Year and everything else to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
You got a lot of titles. You know, Rick, there's somebody in Washington right now that's got a lot of titles, and we know who it is. I want to talk about looking back and looking forward. What surprised each of you the most looking back? And we'll get to looking forward in a second. Rick, we'll start with you.
Look, I think the breadth of Donald Trump's support, not necessarily just in the battleground states or in red states, but across the nation in almost every community, including in the New York area. He didn't flip New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, but he came a lot closer than anyone thought. And I think that, to me, surprised. I thought it would be a close election. We covered it as a close election. I never thought he would win the popular vote, and I did not think he would actually grow more popular in some of the bluest states and bluest counties in the country. That, I think, is part of the reckoning that informs us going forward. And it's not a trend that we spotted, frankly, in the polls or that I saw coming.
Hank, I don't think it surprised you because you talked about it, the possibility earlier on, but the ramifications may have surprised you.
It is the breakdown of the Democratic Party that is the most surprising thing of all. They just don't understand that people in Washington or wherever don't get how average Americans feel, and they're paying the price for it, and they're going to pay the price for some time.
You know, we're looking at President Biden right now, Rick, and I'm a little surprised in this last couple of weeks. Really, he hasn't much been heard, and the only trip he's going to go to next month in January is the Pope, to see the Pope in Rome.
Yeah, and look, you talk about surprises of the year. I mean, the history books will record that this was the year that a sitting president who was already functionally his party nominee bowed out, stepped aside. Consequence of the very public aging that we all witnessed, most notably at that debate over the summer, but also just a major reckoning for the party. And the calculation was that this would give them a better chance. And of course, Harris ended up falling short. But that by itself would be history making. Add into that the assassination attempts and the wild events that we saw all through the summer and fall. And we kept saying unprecedented until we wore out the word. But yes, I think the long and kind of quiet goodbye of Joe Biden is a piece of this as well.
Hank, did you think that Mr. Biden was going to be a little more active these last couple of months?
I don't know. I mean, I think that he wants to fade quietly. He wanted to pardon his son, which he did. He doesn't want any more controversy. He's had enough. And frankly, he's really angry at the Democratic Party, and he's not going to do anything to help them until the day he leaves the office.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's look then at what we think might surprise you going forward. I'll just start it off. You don't have to say this, Rick, or anything else, or deal with it. I think the power of Mr. Musk right now in Washington is a little surprising to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think it's the biggest thing that sets aside the second Trump term to the first potentially is that the presence of the world's wealthiest individual who has the power of X and has the ear of the president, and what that means in practice. Republicans will have control of the House and the Senate for the next 2 years. Barring something unexpected. What they do with it, though, may depend on the whims of people like Musk, and Musk in particular, but others like that, and how long the relationship with Trump lasts and what that means in practice, knowing that a new president, even someone that's now doing the second term non-consecutively, has about 18 months or so to get things done. How he uses that time is going to be defined in large part by relationships like that.
Yes. Before we get to your answer, Hank, and you'll have the last word, before we get to the answer about what you're going to be surprised at, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised at Republicans, some of them going against Mr. Trump.
Look, Mr. Trump is not, everybody is vulnerable. The problem here is that he set up a great line in front of him. And the truth is, if we look at Donald Trump, again, I've said it in this program, the old Trump is the new Trump is the old Trump. It's going to be very hard just to knock him off his pedestal at any time.
And what will you be looking for? To that, or is there something else too?
What I'll be looking for is for him to make a mistake that costs him electoral popularity. Not so simple. He can get away with almost anything he has in the past, and he will do his best in the future.
I am grateful to both of you for your insights, your honesty, your humor, and putting up with me every week on Up Close. I really appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year, Bill. Thanks.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Best to your families. And we'll be right back. And that's it for this edition of Up Close. Tiempo Joe Torres is next. If you missed any of today's programs, I will post them on my Facebook page tomorrow. It's right there. That's all for us for now. Thanks for watching. I'm Bill Ritter. And for all of us here at Channel 7 Eyewitness News, we wish you a happy new year, health and peace. And let's take care of each other.